Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another We Watch Shudder episode. Wow, Spooktober shorts. I don't know even what the do I even remember how to record these? It's JD who's here with me.
It's Michelle.
Holy shit. We're off to a banger start here.
Funny
Michelle.
to me that when this podcast started, you started every single episode the exact same way.
I can't start them.
And now when we decide that you start them and we try to kind of make it 50-50, though there is no actual tracking of that and it might be completely off. When you start them, it's always, oh man, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, you did this way longer than me.
I've completely forgotten how to do this. It's
well,
anyway,
that's okay.
This is We Watch Shudder. My name's JD. That's Michelle.
Yeah,
it's called
hi.
We Watch Shudder because that's what we do. We watch Shudder. Except for here in October, we're watching a bunch of not Shudders short films.
In addition to Shudder, we're still watching it. We ain't liars.
That's fair. That's fair. We are still watching Shudder. We're just watching more than Shudder. We've been doing short films all month long. We have finally reached week 4. What's the gimmick for week 4, Michelle?
The gimmick is kind of whatever the fuck we wanted to do.
Yeah, it was miscellaneous. It was basically stuff we decided we wanted to watch but didn't fit into any of our other gimmick weeks. So this is just...
We do still have a portion of it with a theme.
Technically, yes.
This is
not. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there is a little bit of a loose connection between the ones we're going to be talking. I guess it's not even really a loose connection.
No,
it's a pretty solid connection.
It's a solid connection.
But... otherwise, we're just talking about assorted things. And, of course, we got a couple of days next week as well when we're going to have some assorted, more miscellaneous titles on Sunday and Monday before we wrap up with the big final feature drop on Halloween Day. Michelle, I already feel like it was a mistake for us to sit down and record these. What are we talking about in this first one here for Sunday, whatever the Octoberth it is?
What would the alternative be? Not recording them? Our fans demand it. They demand it.
The alternative would have been recording them not tonight.
Oh, okay. That's fair. I was eating applesauce, so I was in the zone.
Monday, October the 9th, peek behind the curtain, because you all care. I care more that you know when we're recording these than you care that you know.
I forgot the question you asked me. Was it what we watched?
What movie are we talking about?
Cool. Well, it's not a movie. It's a short. That's our thing for Spooktober because movies are too long. We're still watching a movie every day.
You mean it's not a feature, Michelle? It's still a movie.
Debatable with some of these. I don't know. Yeah. Well, today we decided to get into something pretty cool from the internet called the Backrooms, specifically the found footage movie made by Kane Parsons, or as his YouTube channel is called, Kane Pixels.
Yeah, and we're talking about the very first one. Those of you who are familiar with Kane Pixels will know that, Christ, I think the guy's, he's barely 18 years old, and I think he's got like 13 or 14 of these things that he's made.
And a contract deal with A24 to make his own. Yep.
Yeah, I believe they shot that either this summer or they'll be shooting it next summer. I don't remember exactly what it is, but they had to shoot it. In fact, I think it was this summer because they had to shoot it over his summer break from school. It's like the kid is a senior in high school.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of details about Kane Parsons.
He's directing a feature film for A24. Jesus, I'm 43 and I'm still doing a podcast about somebody else's movies. This kid, Michelle, this kid was born significantly after 9/11. That's,
no,
what?
That would make him 12 years old.
No. Michelle,
September 2011. I know 9/11 was in 2001. I'm joking. I know. It makes me feel old, too. I was trying to feel less old.
Man, if this is the first time you're tuning into We Watch Shudder, I'm so sorry, guys. It's usually
I'm not. This is how we always are. No, we are.
It is not
Do not listen to
this
him.
much of a disaster. Yeah, look, I'm not going to deny that we barely stay on the track most of the time.
I think we're perfectly on track. We're still talking about Kane Parsons. Anyway, we should talk about the film, and then we're going to talk about him because I have
guys,
a list.
This is the only spoiler warning you're going to get. We're just about to dig into this movie and tear it apart. So if you haven't seen it and you want to, go watch it now. There's a link in the episode description.
And spoiler warning done. Let's get into it. I'm going to give you a quick summary of what is in the Backrooms found footage uploaded to Kane Pixels' YouTube channel. There's a man, teenage boy, who is filming his friends doing stuff in a parking lot like you do when you are that age and you have a camera. And all of a sudden, he falls out of reality and winds up in the Backrooms, which is just a gigantic space that looks like an old abandoned mall. There is nothing in there. It's just very wide and the structure doesn't make a lot of sense. So he's just walking through that with the hum of fluorescent lights, and then he encounters a creature and he runs away from the creature through this gigantic open space, and eventually he escapes by falling out of the sky with his camera and landing in some grass.
Would you call it an escape? Michelle, I don't know if I'd call it an escape. He exited.
I would think it's an escape from that creature. It is an entrance into a much worse situation.
No, I don't think it was an escape from the creature. The creature runs up on him and shoves him down the hole.
I think the creature, if that hole wasn't there, would have done a lot worse. It depends on which fate you think is worse. I think tumbling out of the sky would be better than whatever that creature had in mind.
I feel like also there's no indication that anything but the camera fell out of the sky.
You know, I was wondering about that, and if it was the camera or it was him. Usually, I didn't know. I'm glad that I am not the only one clear on that. I guess it is kind of more terrifying that probably the camera fell and he is still stuck there. I thought he would no clip with it, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, that's it's very who knows? That's part of the beauty of the whole thing. Look, guys, if you've been following We Watch Shudder for a while, you all know by this point JD's not big on found footage stuff, and it takes something real special in a short for me to really keep my interest. I love this. I thought this was perfectly executed. I love it as a short film. And also once you find out that this kid was like 17 when he made this, there are some very obvious, but very obvious only because of it. Because you see it and you're like, oh, it has to be a visual effect, right? This has to be something that he did digitally in post-production. There are several things that happen along the way throughout this. I definitely feel like they found an old abandoned office building that they got access to somehow. But there are things in here that are very clearly but they're well-executed visual effects.
The entire thing is CGI and made in Blender.
No shit.
Yes, I have so much information for you as a huge Kane Pixels fan. Would you like to hear some of it?
Because I was sitting here watching it for the third time tonight. And I just kept saying to myself, I'm like, where did they find this location? How did a 17-year-old kid convince somebody who owned this building? And that, I was like, is there any chance at all that they just did this whole thing in, like, Unreal Engine or something? But, no, that's wild. I do want to know more about it, but if you don't mind, I'd like to get just a couple other thoughts out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really like about this is I don't know if he and I just happen to sync up on the way our timing works, but the number of times this movie gets to that point where I'm in the back of my head just starting to get to that level of, all right, I could stand for something to happen now, something fucking happens. Like every time, just like right at that moment, the timing is perfect. They do just enough with the creature. Maybe it's a robot. Maybe it's a creature of some kind. We don't fucking know. All we know is it's a weird skeletal-looking thing, and it shrieks, and it's definitely out to get him. It's just really, really well done. Really enjoyed everything about this. Here's my only concern, and we can talk about this more after we let you give us some research here. But my only concern is I'm really worried that this is going to be, at least for me, one of those things that should have stayed a short and won't necessarily translate well to a feature situation. Now, I can't say that for sure. It'll all depend on what they do, obviously, with the feature and the narrative. But I like I said, I've seen this 3 times now, and it's it doesn't feel like it's 10 minutes long. It clips along really easily, no pun intended. No, this is spectacular, and I at the very least can't wait to see what this kid does.
Where do I start? Obviously.
Wherever you like, my dear. Take it from here. I'm going to eat some of these grapes and listen to your research.
Okay, so the Backrooms. Let's start with Kane himself, because I feel like there's a little less to talk about there. So Kane Parsons, his father is a special effects artist. So he grew up doing this for fun. One of the interviews that I watched was actually his first in-person interview that was posted to Anthony Padilla's YouTube channel 4 months ago. So I did watch that whole thing to, see who he actually is in motion, because I've seen some of the stuff on his YouTube channel when he looks like a tiny child, because for me, like, teenagers look like they are 10 years old or they look like they are 18 years old. Anything in between there, I have no concept of what their age is. So he is a very young baby face, and he's still very young in the interview, but I could at least be like, I am starting to see the formation of an adult. Before that, like, no concept of what children look like at certain age points. So yeah, he had been doing stuff in Blender and just kind of experimenting, and he fell in love with creepypastas that involve liminal spaces. If you're not familiar with the creepypasta surrounding the Backrooms, Kane Pixels, aka Kane Parsons, did not create the Backrooms. This is something that existed on the internet before him. And actually, there's a huge debate because Kane does not follow the specific Backrooms canon that everybody accepts as the canon for the Backrooms. But he stated that, it's fine because all canon is canon to its own story. You don't have to abide by the rules that other people have set for you. If you do go digging into the Backrooms, you're going to find a lot of different rules about how this works. But basically, what you see in this clip from Kane is a lot of what you'll see in the beginning levels. I believe there are 100 documented levels of the Backrooms. You begin by no clipping out of reality and landing there. And it is very much what is captured in this found footage space of just this monotone yellow area. And as you go through the levels, you experience different things. You'll encounter smilers, which are glowing smiley faces. Hounds, which I don't think you can see in this video, but he has a couple other Backrooms videos that are similar creatures, but they're on 4 legs, like a hound. Those are some that you will find. I don't know what the name of the thing that he put in this one is, or if it's even canon, but if you want to go down a rabbit hole reading people's documentation of what the Backrooms is and how you get there and who experiences what is very fascinating. And even if Kane's stuff isn't canon, I don't care. I love it. I think he perfectly nails how eerie this stuff is. And I don't remember how I found this clip, if it was sent to me or just like a random stumbling across it, maybe I clipped into finding his YouTube channel, but I was immediately fascinated for the same reason JD is, of like, where is this space? What did they do to create this? I had a lot of questions, and then I found out, oh my God, this at the time child, I think he was like 14 years old.
16
when he made,
oh
my God. Still so young, made this by himself in Blender, and that blew my mind. So then I did have to go and watch other stuff.
What I'm looking at right now.
That's still so little time.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
That's crazy.
So I did watch a lot of
kid did this in his spare time in a month.
Studying algebra and then making this huge thing. So it's insane to me. He has other videos where he has now figured out how to make people going into the back rooms that look very realistic despite being CGI all by himself. I'm sure now that I know that his dad was a special effects artist, I'm not saying that makes sense why he's so talented, but it is really cool that he at least had a resource that he might have been able to say, you know, I can't quite get this one thing. And his dad went like, oh, well, your shading here is a little bit off if you do this tiny thing. And I just think that's really cool that whatever his dad has learned, he was able to, you know, his son is involved in that same thing and they were able to share in that and create this thing. One thing I also want to say is that Kane has amazing Attack on Titan videos. I'm a huge Attack on Titan fan. So if you are into Attack on Titan, go check out the stuff in his channel that is just little fan films to that. It is incredible. I fucking love this. It makes me so uncomfortable. There's another YouTube channel, Dan, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. Dan Brown? Nope, that's an author. But he has a YouTube channel called the Dead Mall series that I love, where he just goes into either abandoned malls altogether or malls where there's basically nothing except a Sears in there, and he just explores and he'll go into spaces he's not allowed to be in, and he'll just show you these huge empty spaces, and it's very similar to the feel of the back rooms, where I just think like, oh man, you're gonna have a creature coming out after you. Just these huge liminal spaces are fascinating, and I feel like Kane nailed it and then some. This is so good, and oh my God, he's not even a legal adult yet.
Right.
What are we doing with our lives? Oh my God.
I don't know. Yeah, like I said, if I have any concern about this at all, it's just that I'm really worried about how they're going to expand this into a feature-length thing. But then again, like we mentioned, the kid has turned this into, as I know now, an 18-entry series. And apparently he's developed a whole mythology around it and recurring motifs and characters. I remember the first time you made me watch this, I said at that time I need to find some time, hoe out some time to sit down and just watch all of these and get more of a feel for them. And I still haven't found the time to do that because there's a million things and it's whatever. But
too much media out there. I know.
There's so much. But, yeah, I'm definitely if I have any complaint about it, it's that for the type of found footage film it is, I don't like how often it just suddenly cuts from one shot to another. I feel like it would be a little bit more effective if this was 1 9-minute unbroken shot rather than occasionally just cutting from one shot to another with no lapsing of time. It's like, what are we supposed to believe? This guy just like shut off his camera for 30 seconds while he was walking around? Because it doesn't seem like that's necessarily a believable situation. But that's a ridiculous nitpick that I actually have about a variety of found footage things. But no, the environments here are really well done. It's creepy. And the big thing, like I said to me, is like his uncanny understanding of just how far he can push something and still capitalize on it without letting it go too far. Like, he pushed me right up with both of the times the creature appears in this. He pushed me right up to that edge where just a little farther and it might have been too much, and it's perfect. I love this. I think a lot more people. This one alone has been viewed like 55 million times or something like that. It's simultaneously awesome and also what the fuck am I doing with my life? You're absolutely right.
I completely forgot to mention he did address the concerns of how to make this into a full length in the Anthony it might be Padilla interview. And if you're interested in him and learning how he views this stuff, this kid is smart. You can tell just from the way that he speaks in his interviews that he has very specific visions and ideas, and he knows what he's doing. He just seems so intelligent.
In a certain level of seriousness, I think even for someone like you who is even still 10 years younger than I am, there's so far as access to technology and information, there is a massive generation gap even between people right now who are in their 30s and people who are in their 20s and then teenagers. Children have access to enough nuanced information and ease of use technology that there's just this giant paradigm shift in just how quickly they become sophisticated thought machines and levels of creativity and levels of skill that they're developing. I've become fascinated recently with I don't watch it on TikTok because I don't have TikTok, but Facebook has Reels now, and I have become fascinated over the last couple of weeks with this 16-year-old kid in Russia who is one of the most insanely talented cosplay makeup artists I have ever seen in my life. It's insane. How is a 16-year-old kid from Russia doing this level of shit? It's madness, but it's awesome, and it definitely makes me wonder, like, what are our movies going to be in even 5 years, Michelle?
Oh, God.
Holy shit.
I know. I'm already starting
dope.
to see less trash coming out than it used to, where I'm like, man, we're starting to get some real, like, Spooktober. I'm going to get back to the full-length version of this, but I got to say, Spooktober, I have been delighted by how much not garbage I am watching. There's definitely been some bad stuff, but like, oh my God, there's some good horror out there now. It used to be really hard to find something that I truly enjoyed, and it's been a good one.
I had this big plan to throw myself into a bunch of different franchises that I had just been neglecting because they didn't really seem like entirely my flavor. I've seen all but the newest of the Saw films. I'm almost done with all of the Hellraiser films. But I think I'm going to put a hold on that because it just started realizing like there are so many movies happening right now, and even like places like Shudder and Tubi and Prime and Hulu, especially in this season, this time of year, even bringing more horror-themed stuff than usual back to their selections. There are so many things from this year and last year that I want to see so bad that I think I'm going to finish off this Hellraiser run and I'm going to go check out a lot of that. And to bring it back around, like that's the biggest thing about this. Not only is it a fun short, not only is it really well executed and sophisticated filmmaking, it's, I think, just emblematic of how bright the future is.
It's bright from all the fluorescent lightings in the Backrooms, which you will see more of in the full length. There, we brought it back around. So in that interview, he had talked about how it's not going to be found footage in the full length, because he does not think that he can tell the correct story in that format.
Yeah, of course you can't. He gets it.
Exactly.
He's like, this works as a short. Like we can do it this way as a short. He specifically said
some things can only be done as shorts.
I love this kid already.
I knew you would like that because you're not a fan. And he understands that there are things. He says that ultimately he would like to have a mini series though, where he's able to go into the story much bigger because the Backrooms are a gigantic thing on the internet. This is not just a Kane creation, and he can dig into so much of that, and I would love to give him the reins.
Right, and I mean, like I said, even in his own mythology, like, it's 18 shorts. Apparently, at some point, it involves this, like, weird corporation that's, like, digging into the Backrooms, like, as a phenomenon and how they can manipulate it. Like, I definitely want to dig into this, and I need to find the time. But I can't say enough positive things about this. We haven't scored this one yet, have we? This is a 5 skull for me.
I was going to say,
this
it's obvious.
Great.
This is a 5.
This is awesome. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
When I saw it the first time, I was afraid because like, oh my God, this big liminal space, and I'd never heard of the Backrooms before. So then I went down a rabbit hole way too late at night to go down that rabbit hole, freaked myself out, but then also realized this is a teenager, and then freaked myself out about what am I doing with my life. So it's this great existential crisis.
Right. Even just the clever design of the spaces so that every time you come around like a wall into an area that you couldn't see, even when you open up that part that you couldn't see, you're also in the distance opening up. There's like yet another wall that you can't see around. It constantly maintains that element of there's some place, even like that shot where all that happens is that fucking chair just gets hucked down the hallway in front of him,
which was
and
not
he
his
goes
creation.
running away. It's so effective, so well done. I can't. Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and talk this kid up all night if you let me.
Yeah, I was fascinated to learn that was a thing that he got from the existing Backrooms lore, that there's pictures, and he went, you know what? I need to animate that. So he's not even like claiming that's his thing. And I also think that is so cool that you're willing to say like, people love this thing. It didn't fully come from me. I'm just making a thing about it. Yeah, I just...
He did this whole thing on a computer, Michelle. What the fuck?
I know. Well, I think at the very beginning, I know, those look like real human children.
Is that him playing the director in that opening sequence? It has to be, right? Or is it him holding the camera, do you think?
But I've watched some of his other videos where he's in them. Like there's one that's a music video where I'm pretty sure it's him, but it's from like 2 years ago. And like I said, I have no concept of what these people look like. I look at my siblings and I think of like how they used to be, and I cannot connect it despite knowing them their entire lives. I look at pictures and I go, that is not the same person. This person is a toddler. This person is of legal drinking age and is hammered at Blarney Stone with me. That is not the same person.
For sure. So I think it's very clear how Michelle and I feel about this film and its potential and what it means. We're now, this episode is 3 times as long as the short film is.
But not as long as his saga of the short films. We got that going for us.
And also, so as we wrap up, one thing I do want to ask is if you've seen the short, hit us up on social medias or send us an mail at wewatchshutter.com. We're at wewatchshutter on all your different social medias. I got to know which one you guys think would be a worse fate. Is it a worse fate if the cameraman stayed in the back rooms and just his camera fell and he was just stuck there forever with this creature? Or is it a worse fate if he fell out of the back rooms with the camera? Here's why I don't think he fell out with the camera, because you never hear him scream. Like, and you hear him like breathing and huffing and panting and stuff while he's running away in the back rooms. I feel like if he suddenly clipped back into the real world way up in the middle of the sky, we would have heard him scream. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay, I have a quick question and response, because I need to know, which do you think is a worse fate? Do you think staying with the creature or falling out is worse? Not what happened, which is worse?
Which is worse? Oh, Michelle, I don't think I can explain to you how terrified I am of falling. Like, the idea of falling from an extreme high place, like, that's like a core terror for me. So because of that, because for some reason that really gets into my reptile brain, I would much rather get smushed and eaten or whatever done to me by that creature than consciously awake, fall from way up into the sky to my inevitable bone-shattering death.
Okay, well, then I have 2 quick comments. One is that for me, if I fell enough that I died on impact, that would be a better version for me. Also, I think that if I fell that far, I would probably pass out. Also from screaming and not getting my oxygen in. So if it was enough of a height, but of course people have survived very, very high falls. And that's the part that I don't like about that. I once became obsessed with interviews with people who survived skydiving accidents. So
Of course you did.
That sounds, of course, I have to know the morbid things. I have massive
with,
curiosity. Massive curiosity. I'll tell you about the pancake arm lady who I came across on Reddit 2 weeks ago and is still haunting me. It involves a hydraulic press. It's insane. There's video. It's insane. We'll talk about it. The other thing is that there is a podcast called The Magnus Archives, which I think is actually getting a series now or a movie or something. But they essentially, it's a a guy who works in the archives, and he's making audio transcripts of documents and stories and retellings from people. And there is a story. Each episode is just a story. He intros it. You learn a little bit about him. There becomes more story built in later, but it basically starts with him being like, this is who I am, this is what I'm documenting, and then he just reads the short story. And there is one about somebody who fell and then never stopped falling, and they fell for days and weeks, and eventually they just stopped falling. And that is the one that scared me the most from everything that show put out. It was a very long series. I listened to all of it. Oh my God.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, no, it was the whole thing of like experiencing that forever, just falling forever.
There's an episode of Futurama where Zoidberg falls off a cliff, and they have this weird like portal gun thing, kind of like the portal gun from Portal.
Yep.
And they put the opening up in the air and the other opening down below, and he's just in this constant loop of falling infinitely out of the one hole and into the other one.
That sounds fun, though.
No! It sounds
for me, that
awful.
Sounds fun. I want to do one of those skydiving tubes. I almost did it for my birthday this year. Like, that sounds so fun. The falling sensation does not bother me. It's the
the sensation of falling terrifies me. Like that drop. Like the first couple of times I experienced turbulence on an airplane, because I never flew until I was a 30-something adult. Those first couple of times when you're up there and you have that that sudden drop, it fucked me up pretty good. Pretty good. And obviously I held it together, but no, that sudden drop feeling in your gut when, oh man, no thank you. Let the monster have me. I don't give a fuck.
Well, listeners, you have to let us know. Would you like to become that monster's plaything, or would you like to potentially experience a peaceful and sudden end by just hitting the ground and pancaking yourself?
A peaceful and sudden end preceded by stark raving terror like you've never experienced
That's
before.
How I'm going to go out no matter what. If that creature got me, stark raving terror before I die.
Fair.
Either
That's
scenario.
fair.
But I feel like I would probably pass out from lack of oxygen and then just be gone. And that would be great.
Oh,
if somebody out there wants to murder me, that's how I want to go, please.
Yeah, guys, hit us
Take
up.
me
Let
to a
us
really
know
high
how
spot.
you feel. Contact information in the tag at the end of the episode. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media, your home for all of today's Rat Factoryist podcasts. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of We Watch Shudder are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Rat Factory Media. But wait, aren't Rat Factory Media and We Watch Shudder the same people? Shut your cake hole, Charlie. Nobody asked you. We Watch Shudder is available free on all major podcast platforms, and the easiest way to support We Watch Shudder is also free. Just leave a rating and review on your platform of choice. Merge your consciousness with ours on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're at We Watch Shudder on all those social media platforms. Or find us the old-fashioned way, on the web at WeWatchShudder.com or by email at mail@WeWatchShudder.com. Heck, you can even leave us a voicemail at 701-566-9510. No, seriously, 701-566-9510. Try it if you dare.